everyone, and welcome to another Tits Out show, where we get our tits out so that you can enjoy the scenery and I can poke you in the eye. How are you all?
Did you say poke him in the eye?
Poke him in the eye.
Did you just say poke him in the eye? I thought that's
did.
what you said. Oh God. Yeah.
With me today, I've got the lovely Claire and
Yeek.
the ever vivacious Jenny Morgan. Hi guys, how are
Yeah.
you?
Yeah.
Just wonderful. How are you?
Yeah, I'm actually not too bad after having a week of feeling like shit. I actually don't feel too bad today, which is nice. So
It was nice to end the week like that,
Nice to
like
end the
feeling
week
better at the end of the week. Yeah.
yeah, well, it's a weekend. You always feel better at the weekends.
Mm.
I have to apologize to the chat that I'm not naked today. It's just a little bit too chilly in my apartment to do such lovely things. So I'm an avatar and I've got a shirt on. I'm sorry.
You could be naked spirit. It's all about the naked spirit, isn't it? It's just like coming out here with the raw nakedness of our emotions and feelings. Yes, of our just being. We could wear.
Yeah, we
real tough
got
on
a
me
few
because
topics.
I'm always naked in my apartment.
I'm always
just
naked in my head.
what I've done for my whole life. So so I just don't like. Well, I like winter. I just don't like this apartment. It's just too cold.
I have a partner. My partner is naked all the time unless he leaves the house. Seriously, the minute they walk into the house, they strip down to nothing. Everything in the house is done unless somebody's coming over.
That's why you need good
Just
curtains.
buck naked constantly. Yeah. Well, it's up high, so we don't have to worry about that too much. It's not close to anything, but just freedom. As soon as walk in from the store, wherever, boom, everything off. It's just like I have to have a hamper, everything right there. Can't even make it all the way into the house
before you answer the door.
Yes and no. Yeah.
Or depending on who it is, you can always do the whole thing that if you see the Mormons coming, you answer naked.
I had solved that problem with a big coat hook next to the door with a nice long big robe, so that he does not answer the door completely naked. He'd take him 2 seconds to throw that robe on to pick up the mail or a package or whatever if a neighbor comes. So there you go. Because otherwise
So what you do is you tell him to open it with the robe slightly open if you get a religious caller, and just answer it by saying, "What the fuck do you want? I was busy."
That was probably one of in the past. It had been a favorite pastime of his. They don't come anymore, but the knocking on the door of the Jehovah's, he would definitely just open that door. Just open that door, and it would be like, I think I have the wrong house. Like, boom, you get some really, really nice, different kinds of reactions, But yeah, but it's free spirit, and I have to admit, it's like knowing him got me more into, like, in my house, I'm naked more often. I stream naked comfortably for Mayhem. I'm comfortable. It's just,
Yeah.
Brilliant.
There's a certain freeness in being comfortable in your own nakedness.
And I'm comfortable with him, so like it doesn't, for us, it's like, it's just, you don't even notice. I don't want to say we don't notice, because that would be terrible not to notice. He's my partner, but still, you're just so comfortable that it's like it's like a common thing. It's not like a big deal. It's not like, oh my God, you're naked. It's like, huh?
There you go. Doing interesting impersonation in channel, so.
Okay.
It would be interesting to do a survey and find out how many people are legitimately naked at home, who live alone or live just with a partner that actually choose to live this way. I think it would be much higher than we think. I think people like being naked.
They do. I mean, it's very freeing being naked. I mean, there's nothing better than at the end of the day coming home and taking your bra off at least.
At least that. I mean, that is like the event. And let me tell you how many times driving that, I swear, like after I was a very type A personality out there in the business world. So 10, 11-hour days. And I'm telling you, while driving, one-handed, learned to take that bad boy off and swing it on the passenger seat.
Yeah.
It would be like, get in the car, lock the door, throw the briefcase, and just bam, like underneath the blouse and the jacket, everything, but get that thing off and boom, right on the chair.
I tell you what, the invention of the sports bra was a fucking lifesaver for anyone who's well endowed. It is a great option if you just for some of the time. It really is. Just yeah. It doesn't quite offer as much support, but it's way more comfortable. And underwire bras are hell. Who thought they were a good idea? I read this
tweet the other day from a fairly new in the community trans woman who. Well, the tweet went something like this: before I transitioned, I hoped the day would come that I wear my own bra very soon. You know, when I start hormones, blah blah blah. Then she says, a few years after starting hormones, I have to wear a bra, and it's just the most uncomfortable thing, and I'm just thrilled to get it off at the end of the day. Mm-hmm. And she thought that was an interesting comparison. And then she says, so I decided I would try to live and go to work without it. You know, why can't I? I always didn't have one before, but why should I have one now? And she complained then about, he says, but then the tits are bouncing around, they get painful, they hurt all the time on the fabric, and she said, I guess I'm just stuck with this fucker, you know.
But I mean, that's no different for a lot of teenage girls who is at the start of puberty are going, yeah, I want myself some good boobs, you know, they're thinking that, and then get the good boobs and go, I think I wanted them too much. Because it's the same thing. I mean, guys might go, oh, wow, you got great boobs, you got huge boobs, and it's you go, yeah, you're not the fucker who has to carry them around. You're not the fucker who
back trouble.
Back trouble. Or, you know, yeah, if you go for a jog, it's not the most comfortable thing having large tits.
Well, you know what? You get to a certain size, and they don't even make a jogging bra that is going to do a damn thing for you. Like they're just.
Well, the material's not up to it. I mean, as I said before, the sports bras are great and wonderful if you can fit in them, but don't expect if you're large busted, don't expect any support from it, because you don't. Yeah, they protect your nipples from rubbing against everything, which is awesome.
Yeah,
and they maybe offer a little bit of support, but not a lot.
Yeah. As long as they keep the chaffing and all that other stuff, you know, down. But
there's definitely what's going to happen is your boobs are going to push their way out the bottom of that strapping underneath the sports bra. That's what's going to happen.
Digital demonic Davros said, try jogging with your testicle clinging to your thigh, though. Yeah, I hear you. That could be uncomfortable, I would imagine too, you know. But they have straps for you too. I'm sure that they would fit better than these jogging bras do for myself anyway. Like jogging is not something I'm not built for it. Forget it. Like it wasn't even an option. Not. Like if I
hold the two nuts in the right spot. That's what the guys need.
Yeah, I would put my eye out. I'd knock myself out. I would just go start jogging and just knock myself out for sure.
Get back that would be black eyes. What happened?
Yeah, exactly.
It was just like fucking bra. That's what happened to me.
It's just like, you know, old lady said when going commando, there's no sweat. You jog commando. Now that's an art. Like you got to jog. No, you're not jogging commando. That's dangerous out there.
I'm wondering how he managed that. You've basically given yourself a third leg, and it's useless.
Yeah.
What was the point in that? Or is there a pendulum effect, and it gives you a little bit of extra pace?
This is all visuals I hadn't planned on, but I think we're actually
couldn't do that. You'd be dragging along the ground behind him.
Oh my god! Oh my god! Oh my god! How did we? Oh, say thanks, Stavros. That's what you got us thinking about. Yeah, great. That's where it went. We were gonna. Yeah, okay. We get your point. Too much boob talk. I get it. Gives the glory. Oh God.
So
Oh
the
my.
direction that your dick's twirls depends on whether you're in the northern or southern hemisphere. Is that right?
Is that kind of like whether the toilets flush to the left or the right when they just go down? Yeah. Oh my god. Yeah. You know, Jen, that stream, this morning's stream, I'm going to register a complaint. This morning's stream, my only complaint is I couldn't even keep a straight face at the DMs I got about it being able to answer those Australian questions.
No, yeah.
Because now it's like, girl, you just been lying to us the whole time. You really are Australian. I'm like, no, I'm not. I'm from New Jersey. No,
through some of that stream.
no. They're like, people from New Jersey don't know how the toilets flush in Australia. You cannot make me believe that. I'm like, are you serious? Are you serious? They were just joking with me, though. They were just having fun with me, I'm sure, because they can't be serious, right? I mean,
No.
if you know how a toilet flushes in another country, that means you're from there. Yeah.
How does the toilet flush? Well, it depends where the button is on the toilet.
Cause she's like this, I don't know. It was funny stream though. Chris was on a tear. He was definitely 8. He was on an 8. He was on an 8 all day. He was on the 8. He was on the 8 for the whole stream. But it was good. A basement. Thanks, Stavros. I heard there aren't that many basements in Australia. That's how we were debunking their theory, but thank you for preparing one for me. But I think I keep telling everybody I'm not a basement kind of girl. Like, I'm really not a basement kind of girl. I want to be above ground. I want to be in the sun. I like my skylights. I was just talking about
what do you expect? You only go in a basement.
I know.
You want to hibernate.
I know, that's what that's it. Then I might not come out for months and months and months.
How do you balance being naked in your apartment all the time with wanting to have sunshine in?
Skylights.
Oh, well, okay.
Yeah, I'm also very, very fair. So like direct sunlight is not something I can do without consequence at all. Like I am so fair, I burn in the shade. Like seriously, like I turned red in the shade.
Now Davros is quoting Silence of the Lambs.
Yeah, I know. Yeah, now you're scaring me,
Hey,
Didge. You're scaring me. Hello, Belinda. Nice to see you again.
I know people are probably expecting us to talk about Rittenhouse, and this is the only bit we're going to do. We are not going anywhere near that discussion because there's too much backsplatter from it. There's too many dissenting opinions on it, and to be quite frank,
it's too messed up.
It's too messed up. It needs time to be digested, and talking about it just the day after on a stream, I think, is just ridiculous.
Right, if we're naked, we could get hurt,
and we want to have fun. So.
We could get hurt. Like we could get seriously
hurt by this. So we're not going to talk about it. Apart from to say we're not going to talk about it. So
yeah, like we know it happened. We're not dumb. We're not hiding. We're just not. Yeah. We're consciously going to digest it. Try to anyway. It's But I mean, there's plenty of things going on. Like there's a lot of stuff going on.
But to give an example. Of how weird things go, and not directly talking about Rittenhouse. Let's talk about a case that happened in Australia in the 80s. The Azaria Chamberlain case, which I'm sure Claire knows about. The dingo.
No, actually, you're giving me too much credit. Oh, okay. I just don't know the name, but yeah, okay. The baby
was the baby. Lindy Chamberlain was the mother, and this was a case that happened in the Northern Territory in Australia where they were camping. Near Alice Springs, which people think is Uluru, but it isn't. It's a fucking long way from Uluru to Alice Springs, but that's fine. People don't know Australian geography very well, even a lot of Australians. I
have only
cried out in the morning. A dingo's got my baby, and Azaria Chamberlain was missing. Then later on, they found her clothing. They found what was supposedly blood in the Chamberlain's car, and and stuff like that. Now, Lindy went to prison for this for about 4 or 5 years, but appealed the case and won on appeal and was subsequently released. And but the media circus that surrounded this case was so intense. Every little piece of the case was brought to the public's awareness before the whole case went to trial. There was no way Lindy Chamberlain could have got a fair trial no matter what happened. Regardless of guilt or innocent, they had totally poisoned the water around this entire case.
That incident reached up to North American news.
Yes,
it did,
and very quickly into North American comedy routines.
Yeah. And I followed that case, and it was quite evident that the media tried that case, not the law. The law didn't matter. The media actually
was around it,
tried that case.
The prosecuting case prosecuted it as Lindy needed to prove her innocence, and the judge in the original case allowed that. So she had to prove her innocence before a court of law, which is not how the law works in Australia.
No, you're supposed to do it the other way around.
Which is the whole reason why she was let off. And you could never retry that case, regardless of whether she was guilty or innocent or what happened. But there wasn't just that. There was the fact that the police themselves badly handled the evidence. So much so that there was not a good documentation of evidence from one location to the other. The evidence was not properly kept in location. So when it came to retrial, some of the evidence didn't even exist anymore, even though they knew it was going back to retrial.
Right.
At that point, how can you have a new case? How can you say that anything close to fair and reasonable justice had happened? And this is a problem we have in a lot of high-profile cases throughout the world. That the trial by media destroys the right of a fair trial for the person being prosecuted.
But at least in Australia, you guys are working on the laws that are preventing that a little bit with the media getting
control. There's a recent case of a young kid who was kidnapped in a camping site in Western Australia, and despite the media trying to release the name of the person who's been arrested, it wasn't released by the public. The media went looking for it, and the particular outlet got in trouble for that, because you have to give an opportunity to the person to have a fair and reasonable trial. And when the media are like vultures for anything that can be sensationalized, it is impossible to have a fair trial, especially by your peers, because the average person who sits on a jury duty has no idea how the law's meant to work.
Right.
They only can go by the guidance given by lawyers and by the judge. And if you end up with a crappy judge or a judge who's less experienced, they will not direct the jury properly. And then our law system is fallible. It is very fallible. It's why you end up with innocent people going to prison for 20 years, because it happens. But the idea of innocence until proven guilty is to try and reduce the number of innocent people who go to prison. And I would rather release 5 guilty people who you couldn't convict for whatever reason because of the presumption of innocence than put one innocent person in prison.
And I get that, because the coming to head of an execution recently here in the United States that almost happened yesterday really brought that to light for me, and caused a lot of discourse actually with some of my friends and with some of my family, because although I believe there are absolutely evil, horrible people, and that some people think that we shouldn't have to pay for them and the death penalty should exist, the fact that someone is innocent could die before they get the chance to prove that is why I'll never be on board until they change it, until they make a better system to where that can be more easily controlled, where the appeals are there. If there's any shadow of a doubt, there has to be something else. You can't just push for the death penalty and then boom, like everything goes through when they appeal. If there's any shadow of a doubt.
Taking away 20 years of somebody's life, though. Some people who've gone to prison for 20 years for something that they didn't do, you have taken their life from them at that point.
And there's no recourse. That's all they get.
No.
They get freedom. That's it. They get nothing.
Our system by design is a shadow of a doubt. Because it's a human structured system. It's absolutely fallible all the time.
Right, and that's why such a
stand up and say this person should die without there being some doubt. Do I really know if this is correct? Yes. Now there are some cases that are clear as a bell that this person is guilty and all that. And
Confession.
All that
Confession will do it. Like if they did.
There have been cases of coerced
confessions don't
as
do
well.
it. There are people who are coerced into confessions that they are not guilty whatsoever.
No, but I'm talking about the horrific cases, like 127 dead through a serial killer, and then he confesses. Like, I don't think he's being coerced to admit to 127.
Okay,
so,
but
like,
look at the kids who were tried and thrown away for 20, 30 years for rape in Central Park when they were absolutely innocent, and people knew they were innocent, and they still went down.
And the number of times people with mental disability, well, not necessarily, people who are mentally unstable have
compromised
to crimes that they definitely did not do. But you end up with a police officer or a criminal lawyer who's looking for an easy conviction.
I want to read two comments
for their career or whatever. It's
right. Virillion makes two good points here because I'm thinking very much along the same lines. Examples of these cases that are outliers still show that law and bias still happens and need to be constantly improved upon. Point made, because I think that every day. I read a lot of legal stuff every day, and that is a thought I have every single day. He also states, until justice gets viewed as redemption rather than revenge, the law will constantly be at odds with itself. And I also believe this, because putting somebody to death is revenge. It is not redemption. It's not retribution. It is definitely like a revenge. Like, that was so horrible, like, we just have to kill you. And I don't think that there's a vehicle in place yet that can adequately supervise it, justifies it, or leave it in place. So that's why I'm not for it.
We throw words at things like rehabilitation, but prison isn't about rehabilitation in any way.
No, it's not. It's about punishment, and I get that. But the death penalty just doesn't.
Yeah, which is why we have things like the death penalty. I mean, we don't in Australia, but you guys do over there. Is because it is about punishment and revenge. You did something really bad, so we have to do something bad for you. This is This is the biblical eye for an eye.
Let me ask you a question. How many states in America have the death penalty?
It's only about half or a third or something like that, isn't it? It's not all of them.
Correct. I don't know how many it is, but I'm pretty sure it's less than a half or less than a third.
Between a third and a half. It's not all states. No, I wasn't saying it was all states.
It's 27.
I know you weren't trying to imply that, but so often people do. They condemn the whole of America because you got a few states that have no sense of tolerance and understanding of.
Yeah, but it is a large amount because it's 27. It is more than half, and it is some of the largest.
Wow, I didn't know that.
Well,
yeah, currently it's 27 states. Yeah. Now, just because they have it doesn't mean they're actively. Yeah, it's a skill. Just because they have it doesn't mean they're actively using it. Just because there are 27 states that have it on the books still as an option does not mean it's actively being used. So that should be a disclaimer. I would say there's a less of a handful of them putting it down all the time with the DAs and everything going for it. I would say it's probably
had a moratorium going on that have recently since the Trump administration started to let those moratoriums go and are happy with killing now.
I mean, your biggest ones for doing it are like Texas and.
And they go for it. They go for it more often. They actively.
New York recently removed it, didn't they?
I'm just gonna look on the map again.
Because they were.
I actually pulled.
So.
Texas loves to kill people.
So often, if you talk about Texas, it feels like I'm talking about an entirely different country to the rest of the USA.
I'm telling you, like every time somebody says Texas, my blood pressure goes up. I'm just like, oh my
it does. It
just
really
the word.
Feels like you're not talking about America when you're talking about Texas.
All right. Sorry, but let's see. No, I don't see New York here. Texas, Florida, Georgia, Alabama, Louisiana, Arizona, Utah, California, Oregon, Nevada,
California still
Indianapolis.
has it.
Yeah,
That surprises
but
me.
like I said, they're not used. Like there are states that aren't using it.
Yeah.
Okay. South Carolina, North Carolina, Tennessee, Kentucky, Indiana, Pennsylvania, and Ohio. Pennsylvania's not using it that often either. I haven't heard of any
I
cases
would imagine
recently out of
Florida are
Ohio.
still using.
Mm-hmm. I want to see how old this
Florida's
map
kind
is.
of like Texas in many ways.
Mm-hmm. All right. Let me just. Here, I'll put it here for you. This one that I just pulled up with the colors for you. This one had pretty colors.
Are you going to put up a map that I can't show anyone?
Oh, okay.
OBS. I really should stop using OBS and just use StreamYard straight out, just because.
There's a hiatus, a moratorium, which means they have the death penalty, but they're not using it. That's Montana, Nevada, Oregon, California, Indiana, Kentucky, and Pennsylvania have the death penalty, but there's a moratorium. It's not put for sentencing.
So effectively, it is just under half that don't that use it. That use it basically.
Yes, because that would mean 20 actively still are using it as a penalty, and there are 7 of those states that are listed as the 27 that are on hiatus. In other words, it's on the books. They're not keeping it active. They're not using it. They just don't have a vehicle yet to get it off the books because a lot of times it's a hot issue. It's a political hot issue.
For several years. Yeah. I mean. The last time somebody was put to death in West Australia was in the 70s, but the actual death penalty wasn't taken off the books till the 80s. So it took 10 years to take the death penalty off the books here, but we weren't using it. So I mean, I would count that if you've got the moratorium, you're at least making an effort towards removing it as
do you think there's ever a reason that the death penalty should be okay?
The way the law exists now, I say no. Because it can't be regulated appropriately, that an innocent person would die.
My feeling for this will go along the lines of euthanasia. If the person is a psychotic criminal who doesn't want to be a psychotic criminal and said, "Look, I've done these terrible things. Please put me to death." Yes. I don't even, because that's a form of euthanasia, and they are trying to stop themselves in the only way they think is possible. That's their way out of this. Or if they're convicted for such a it might also be their reaction to being convicted for a very prolonged period of time, and they make the choice, but it has to be the criminal's choice. What
if it's shown that the person is absolutely in mental crisis? I'll say that because I don't want to be nasty.
Then they should get
label.
the mental help they need before you allow them to take their own life.
That's it. There's just so many variables, and the system isn't allowing for them right now, and that's the problem. Because it should be by if it's allowed to stay the way it is, it should be case by case. Something with any doubt at all, should you just even though that was the sentence, it shouldn't be executed. You should just wait until they get more evidence. Do you know how many people on death row?
Euthanasia. I support that for somebody who decides that their life is at the point where they
want, right. Yeah. But you got the competency of that person too. Like, here's the other thing. There are people on the other side that are going to say, well, they did wrong. They just want out so they don't feel the guilt anymore because they're torturing themselves. That's part of their punishment. They should feel that guilt. They should sit there and be miserable, whatever, locked up. There's going to be somebody on the opposite side giving them a free pass by giving them what they want. Right? They're gonna say that. Just like they say now that the reason we have the death penalty is because we shouldn't have to pay, support, and treat people like human beings who do not treat others like human beings. That is the strongest argument.
Better than they are.
That's what I say too. Like, I'm always saying that. Like, people come at me all the time. Shitty, dirty, backstabbing.
Despite the fact that, yes, because this comes back to that whole thing is incarceration is punishment. And that's where you don't like the idea of them being able to say, I want to end my life rather than serve out a term. I don't necessarily have that problem with that. If they want to take themselves off as being a thing on the state, if they want to take themselves out of the public circulation because they don't see any way of redemption for themselves, then
why should we allow them?
But it's their choice. It can't be state mandated, and it can't be coerced upon them, as Verulian said.
If we don't, right now as a society, allow that to the average citizen, why should we allow it for the criminal? That's the question.
Because the public is paying for the criminal's existence.
Yeah, but like if you don't have that right to own your life and to end it on your own as an individual, why do you get it all of a sudden when you're a criminal? Like that. That's what I'm saying. It's a bigger question.
I'm all for euthanasia for anyone.
To give that right to give that
right. Yeah, but I'm saying that's the thing. Until we approve it across the board, they're not going to really blanket approve it just for criminals to be able to do it.
No. I agree. Yeah. It needs to be approved, and I don't even have a problem with euthanasia for somebody who just wants to end their life for some valid reason, and it doesn't necessarily have to be medical. You know, there are points where people have psychological trauma to the point where they can't cope with life and can't cope with the therapy it would take to help them. And I have not actually spoken to people like this, but I've spoken to people who have spoken to people like this, so secondhand. But I've talked to therapists who have actually talked to who have patients who cannot get the tools to deal with it.
Helplessness are very real and absolutely unachievable to change or impossible to change.
Yeah.
It's true, and those are case-by-case things. It's going to be very hard to regulate and make a law about it, and that's why we are not able to do it, because you also have the responsibility of those in authority and power around you. Like Verulian brought up, like voluntary euthanasia should be only on the behest of the individual and not state coerced, which I agree. But it's like it's like a police officer not stopping someone shooting themselves. Then all of a sudden, there's still the duty of care. Like they're going to get, like, you know, like where does one stop and the other starts? Belinda, she said, even the most disgusting person on earth should still be treated like they're human. Even if they're locked up for life, they should be given the opportunity to improve themselves and contribute. I agree, because nothing in this world stays the same from 1 minute to the next. And that includes the guilty, the not guilty, that includes every single one of us. It's just the way the world is. I am saying what I'm saying right now, and 2 days from now, I could have a completely different outlook on something based on things that happen over the next 2 days. Perceptions I get, things I find out about, or something that happens to me. Yeah. Nothing.
I'm not saying somebody gets put in. We have voluntary euthanasia laws passed everywhere, and people can end their lives when they want to. I'm not saying we just give them straight out the right to end their life. I think there would be a preliminary counselling before you do it.
And for me, that's where the thing is that, yes, you could feel that way and be absolutely adamant. I could see myself convincing anyone around me. I know I can be very convincing. I could convince, if that's what I wanted to do, anybody around me, even an authority or a therapist or anybody, that it was the right thing, that I had thought about it and everything like that. And yet, but I know also I could change my mind in a week. So, like, I would hope there isn't a vehicle that I could do that, knowing that.
I don't want the suicide booths of Futurama. No, that's
right.
Not what
no. We don't want that. No. And we're not talking about desperation, and we're not talking about like people just thinking it's like not worth it. No. I think in that case there should always be. I've witnessed more often than not, just a kind word or an interaction or a connection with someone unexpected that just turns everything around. So I could never 100% believe that was just something, that nothing was worth it anymore. But that's just me. It's just my experience,
Then what was that? The suicide what of Futurama?
They have suicide in Futurama. They have suicide booths. People walk up, put $1 in, and walk inside the booth, and it kills them.
Oh.
Yep. It's just like they pay $1, like, and Ted said,
and it just destroys them.
Yeah.
Oh, they should raise that price of bullets. Cost darn near 50 cents.
And Ted said, store all these people in a cryogenic particle storage or something like that, like they do in the science fiction books with all the criminals. They just no wasted space. They just cryoli put them somewhere. They don't kill them. They don't do anything to them. They just freeze them up, put them in a cube. Yeah.
Yeah, it's called Soylent Green.
Oh no, they ate them. No, they ate them. They were food source. I remember that book. Oh my god, that was like that warped me. That warped me so bad. Oh my god. Yes, like when I'm eating my neighbors, my bad neighbors, they killed the dog.
No, if you got bad neighbors, you keep hogs for that.
That's right. Feed the hogs, the bad neighbors. Jenny, you watch too many of the shows I watch. This is not good. Yeah, But you know what? I had an interesting.
I live in the country.
Okay, we had an interesting discussion about this with the law about and the media actually trying people like right out. I read yesterday on stream a arrest affidavit on someone, and they actually got arrested for the murder of their wife, and every single bit of the evidence was circumstantial. There's no weapon. There's no evidence of a body. There's no body. There's no weapon. There's no gunshot shells. There's nothing, not a thing. Just she entered her house. He was there. She never came out. Period. That's it. Now he's lied. They had a contentious relationship. They have text messages. She was going to divorce him. But Jay and I were going back and forth because he's like, how could they even arrest him? How could they? I said, well, they need motive. He had motive. She was divorcing him.
They need suspicion, though.
Yeah, because they have all three. They have motive, opportunity, and method.
They can't really convict just on suspicion. They need fucking
right. That's what it was going. Like we were going like, well, yeah, but here's the thing: because all these records are public. Like here I am. I'm a YouTuber. I can read this arrest warrant out there. I could talk about it. I could say what they have on him. The media, obviously, everybody, not a single person in the chat thought this guy was innocent. I don't think this guy is innocent, but there's nothing there yet that the law is going to be able to lock him up with. Like, I don't understand what they're doing. Like, there's so much doubt because, back and forth. Jay and I were going back and forth.
Talking about earlier, where I would, even though this guy is possibly guilty as hell, I would still rather see him go free than him be trialed as guilty until he proves himself innocent.
Well, there's a case like that going right on in America right now. The Lacey Peterson case, where out in California, I believe it was, the guy's wife suddenly disappeared, and he gave all kinds of stories about this or that, or blah blah blah, and they finally surmised that he killed her and dropped her into the ocean at some location.
But at least in that case, there's a lot of physical evidence, and there's a lot of witness testimony of things that he had said with his girlfriend. Like, there's a lot to tie him to the actual event, including taking that boat out with trash bags. Like, they have him on video. Like, they have video. So, at least there's some physical evidence. Something. Well, I mean, it's not really strong, but it's something.
He's getting a new trial.
He is getting a new trial, and you know what? He's getting a new trial because of not dotting I's and not crossing T's, not necessarily because he's innocent. That's the problem. Yeah.
And that still is an aspect of the law that we have to appreciate, even if we think somebody is guilty as hell. If the law doesn't do its job properly, if the law doesn't follow due process, if the law doesn't keep good records of evidence and things like that, then those prosecutions cannot be said to be valid. And everyone deserves due process. I would like to think that if I ever got accused for something, I would have due process, because that is what's fair, and you've got to put yourself in the shoes, because anyone can be accused of anything. You can be in the wrong place at the wrong time. I mean, if you're accused of something you did, then you get what you deserve, but you can be accused of shit you don't do. And the media by default absolutely assassinates people in that situation. I mean, as much as I love the power and strength that's given to women, especially in the US, me too, is that assassination by press. And I hate that side of it. I hate the assassination by press. Yes, we should come out and say that the bad people who did bad things to us, and we should feel free to do that. But to do that in the press means that these people are often guilty until proven innocent in the eyes of the press. And that's giving a lot of power to somebody who doesn't have to obey due process.
At the same time where the media common sense and laws and rules and regulations that used to regulate them to only making true statements and to stop some of the speculation, since all that's been stripped away, it makes it even worse, like thousands points worse. There are some points in the chat that I want to address. Okay, so Verillion says, because he's talking to Ted and they're going back and forth, about the death penalty and putting people to death. And he brings up the fact that there are people who say that CP or CSA, which we're talking about children, or minors. Okay, that's going to be my point right here. Because even though they put that C there, it's not always a child. It could be a minor. That those people need to be put to death, and at the same time they say they're pro-life or they're and I get that. But we all have to remember that even though somebody could be charged for child pornography or putting a child at risk, that child could have been 17 years old. It could have been an older person, a man who may have just got naked pictures of them or something, and they're minor, and then their parents found out, and then because of the law in a certain state, they've got a charge of child pornography on them, even though they're only a couple of years difference. But that would be different. I wouldn't want to see that person go to death. I would want to see that person rehabilitated in some way. You know what I mean?
Is there even a case for rehabilitation? Because there are legitimate cases where a person doesn't act. I mean, you don't always ask the age of somebody who's probably close to your own age. Hey, are you above? Are you over 18?
You know what? Hey, listen, as somebody who's going to sit up here and say, I have received naked pictures. Yes, I have. I have never asked for the ID of a dick pic. I have never asked you your age. Okay, maybe I should have. Okay, but I don't like so. I'm just saying, like, sometimes you get stuff you don't know, like you don't know. I'm saying it.
People get sent things just because you have something on your computer, or it was in the cache on your computer. Well, I didn't go actively looking for that. Some fuckhead sent it to me.
Exactly. Like, I'm not, like, I didn't ask, like, well, I did one time on stream, I asked for phallic-like items to make that, like, about the buildings and stuff, and that did kind of, like, they thought maybe that's what I meant. Like, I don't know, but, it doesn't mean, though.
That is the thing, isn't it? And
I'm just saying, there's such a broad spectrum of these charges. When you get charged with something, this scenario isn't always exactly what you think in your head. Like, it's like a big degree. They just they're matching stories up and situations up to the best law that they can to do it. So you can't these people can't make blanketed statements like put a bullet through the head of everybody who's been charged with child pornography, because like there would be a lot of people that just doesn't apply to. They didn't do anything that horrible. I mean, yes, it's horrible, but it's not what you think. Like, it's not exactly what you think all the time. Yeah.
Typically, the people that get charged with child pornography have on their computer thousands upon thousands of images.
True, but I know of like 3 cases.
That it's an addiction and that they got something wrong upstairs. They need to be charged.
No, I agree with you. In general, Jenny, that is exactly the case, but not always the case.
I was looking at 3 different cases just like recently, and it was involved only like 2 pictures, same person, right? Gets the claim. One person gets like, because of the length of the relationship they had, got like years. Somebody else gets a suspended sentence. Somebody else just walks with no charges at all, like probation. But they all 3 got listed in today's climate of what this involves. They're all on the sex offenders list. It's all going to affect their lives forever, as far as getting a job or what people know about them, because it's part of, like, if you get that charge, regardless of the sentencing.
And quite frankly, it's the same thing when if you're an 18-year-old who's dating a 16-year-old. What the fuck's the problem? Why is this is only an issue because some parent got their knickers in the knot?
Well, that's the thing. Like, somebody read me a headline yesterday and my heart stopped. They said 20-year-old will not be facing charges as an adult or going to prison for having coerced sex with a 16-year-old against her will. And I was flipping out because I'm like, that's a 20-year-old, that's an adult, right? You know. But then they read the article and you find out, well, it was when he was 17 and she was 16. Okay,
so there was
and
1 year between them, yeah, and they were both underage.
so and the whole story changed. But they read the headline, because that's how the media said it. They said, "Oh yeah, judge says that 20-year-olds shouldn't go to jail for coercing."
And I would agree. And was it coercion?
Yeah, I don't know.
I recall a case where, in the relationship, both of them were 17, and at some point, I don't remember exactly when, the boy, I believe it was busted for having child pornography on his phone because it was his girlfriend who was 17. I don't remember if he was 18 when he was actually busted or if he was still 17, but he got charged and she didn't. She had pictures of him and he had pictures of her.
Yeah.
So
and
there's
a couple and they're over 16. I don't see a problem with this. This is ridiculous.
Mm-hmm.
This is back to that same thing that some people think that teenagers can't make logical decisions or emotional decisions for themselves. There's something magical about turning 18 or 21 that suddenly gives you clarity of thought and being an adult and bullshit like that. Because I have met many people older than 21 who have no clarity of thought at all.
There's the stupidity of the law when, for example, I saw, I don't remember, within the last year, a case where some little kid, like 5 years old, 6 years old, was expelled and thrown out of a school because he made his finger into a gun.
Mm-hmm.
And they had a zero tolerance policy, so he was out and expelled from the school. And it's like, well, that's ridiculous. That's just stupid.
So basically, he did that and got.
Yeah. Yep. Oh, there goes your stream. We just got pulled from YouTube. No. It's just like we could go on and on and on and on about that. This is because every circumstance, you have to take all the circumstances into consideration. People are just making blanket statements and judgments. That's the thing. It's these instant judgments on stuff without all the information that is so difficult for me to wrap my head around. Because there's always more information. There's always more coming in.
There is.
It's like, and that's why the media needs to stay out of it. That's how we started, right? It's more about the media and what they do than even, and it is pushing, even when you say like a judge could go this way or that way, when the media is so loud about everything, I don't care who the judge is. You're not going to tell me that they don't feel that influence, the influence of the popular opinion, the influence of political progression towards their field, the influence of their peers. I'm sure once the media gets involved, that's a big heavy weight. It's going to come into it. It's definitely going to come into it, one way or the other. So.
Definitely. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I have a happy story.
Let's go to a happy story. We've been talking about
Let's go to happy.
This topic we were not going to talk about, we ended up talking about for half an hour. So let's go to something else.
I was at the
but we didn't talk about it. We
definitely didn't.
I was at the hospital at a doctor's appointment. Was yesterday?
Yeah.
I've lost track of days. It was either this morning or yesterday morning. I don't remember. Anyways, we're sitting in the waiting room. There's, a dozen people in the waiting room waiting to be called. The nurse or whoever comes down the hallway and calls for a name, and you stand up and you go on in and all this stuff. She comes out to announce the name, and she's looking at her sheet and she says, "Karen," and two women stand up. and they both start approaching her, and obviously one is very young and one is very old. And the nurse clued in immediately which one it was, and went to the older woman, and the younger woman just looks at her kind of aghast, and you could see the smirk in her eyes. She was not serious, and she just says, "I'm going to call the manager," and then everybody laughed because everybody figured out what was going on. It was just very cute.
That's a good Karen joke. Cause
Yeah, it is.
That's a good Karen.
yeah. I like
that's it. That's the story.
yeah. It's good. On a lighter note, Verilian says, "No clothes is lighter than wearing any." This is true. This is a fact. We can't even debate that one. But, yeah. What is like?
Yeah. That's one of the things. You take the clothes off and you reduce your weight and reduce the gravity effect of gravity on you. So it's a positive thing.
Oh, that's okay. I can't believe we have these serious conversations naked. This is just like hanging out with my partner, having philosophical discussions over coffee. But here I am out on YouTube, naked as a jaybird, talking about all this kind of stuff. It just, it's amusing to me occasionally. Just like, it's like, I don't need clothes to think.
No, you don't. I think it's kind of freeing actually. When you can feel the cool breeze on your skin, and there's something freeing.
That brings up a good topic. Does what you wear on a daily basis change how you feel or address certain situations? Like, do you feel you need to dress the part to handle, like, if you know you're going to a certain place or what? I knew I did in business. Like, I would pick, if I knew the type of client it was, like, I know I strategically dressed the part. So I felt the part, so I could be what I needed to be when I was there. I know that sounds weird. You want to be whoever you are all the time, but when it comes to business or conducting certain things, I will admit freely that you do need to wear a mask. We have, as women, we wear multiple wet masks out there in the world on a daily basis. So,
the most common one for women is makeup.
Yeah, right. Which you love
me, aren't you, Claire?
I'm an anti. Yeah, like if you catch me with lip gloss and mascara on, dude, I like you. Like, I got dressed up, because otherwise, you just get me the way I am. Because I think you're who you look at every day and who you go to bed with should be who you wake up with. You know what I mean? So I don't want to give you any false pretenses.
When I started doing YouTube, I made the effort for every stream to put makeup on and all that. And then after 12 months of that, I was like, this is not me. Yeah, I don't do this. Why am I doing this? I'm an idiot.
And I'm not an anti. It's not for me. I have very sensitive skin. It's always been a problem. I'm not really good at it. Okay, it's just not for me. I think that people that put on beautiful. I wish I could put makeup on the way some women do, and they are absolutely gorgeous. Like, I wish I could walk around like that. And I don't fault anybody for doing it. It's just what is absolutely commonplace. Actually, I'm more the odd one out. It is actually more common than not. So, it's just, I don't really have a personal feeling about anybody that does it. It's just, for me, it's just such a hassle. It is not something that I aspire to.
Having said that, if I go out on a date, if going out to dinner or somewhere special, I will put makeup on.
I own makeup.
If I had to go to a special meeting for something, I would put makeup on, because it's part of that costume, that part of dressing for that environment.
Right.
But I'm not going to do it for YouTube, because I don't do it in my daily life, and I like to present me as me when I do YouTube. So I'm not going to do that.
And now that I'm not out in the business world like I was, I don't wear it. I don't wear it. I don't feel the need to wear it around the house.
Same.
I don't feel the wear to go to the store or to deal with my family and my friends.
Why should I wear it? And I know for some people, makeup is part of their identity, part of who they are, and that's perfectly fine. But I grew up with a mum who wasn't, a mum and two sisters who weren't overtly into makeup. My younger, no, my middle sister, because I'm the youngest sister, my middle sister, she'll wear makeup for work and things like that. But my older sister, no. My mum, no. My
sisters,
little bit of lippy to a wedding was my mum. That's my mum's idea of makeup. And it's just the way I grew up. I have one side of that I love nail polish, although I'm not wearing any, and I haven't for a little while. But that's mostly because I was having problems with all the work I was doing. It was just looked dreadful
Mhm.
all the time if I was wearing it. I love nail polish, and that is my one guilty sin as far as makeup goes. Is that I because I can still consider nail polish makeup. I don't know if you do. Is it makeup? I don't know. I like I like my nails painted.
Mhm.
Aside from that, I'm just not into makeup.
Yeah, I just my sisters wear it and they wear it really well. I was always just the hippie. I mean, I used to wear even younger, like even just without working, mascara, lip gloss, you always, stuff, the minor things, but just not the like the full face. But Belinda, I want to know where you saw that platypus. Um, yeah, you said I saw a platypus last weekend.
Oh wow.
And and wait, here's a good one. I wonder how it would feel skydiving naked. I'm thinking
Ooh,
about that, Ted. I'm
There's a joke
actually
about that, and apparently we whistle.
oh my god, oh my god. I think it would be tense. I think that
yeah.
G-force, it would be the first time that the G-force would really affect the G's like badly. I think very badly. I don't think it would be good for me. I don't know. I think that just the thought though of free falling is great. You know.
Well, how would it be different free falling if you're face down versus back down?
I don't know. I just do know. I guess how far they extend or drop. I guess with all that force of it. Oh my God, I can't even. I don't think I'd be comfortable.
Or flap
Yeah.
around.
I must admit, Ted just made me wince a little bit because the thought of that, it sounds painful.
Mm-hmm.
Apparently,
The other
he
thought
burned
I
his
had,
tender parts welding
as
at TAFE.
soon as you mentioned it, was visualizing all these people who have been skydiving and they got their little selfie of their face and their lips are flapping.
Mm-hmm. Oh
Yes.
no, I agree.
That's the key phrase. That's the key
Mm-hmm.
phrase. Lips are flapping.
Mm-hmm. Okay, so Belinda found that platypus at Youngleboro in a creek, and there were two of them. But she knows where they live, so it was cheating because she knew where to find them. But that's cool because they're so adorable. They're so adorable. And Brilliant says he's not really happy about all of those camera filters like you can use now. So like when you're sending pictures of yourself, you can actually put makeup on without putting makeup on. Yeah. You know what I'm talking about. Like it does all the
Yeah.
skin smoothing and all of that.
They make you look
Yeah, yeah,
younger and
Oh, like my
perkier
avatar.
and can even change the shape
and
of your face.
yes, exactly. And he also says, Jenny, that back down while parachuting is not recommended. It's not advised. So you should be face down when parachuting out.
Well, you want to
I
see
guess.
the ground
Why
coming
is
at
that?
you, so you know when to pull the.
Well, sure you know when to pull the ripcord, right? Yeah,
Yeah,
there
I
you
mean,
go.
when you feel something hit your back is not the time. It's a bit late.
You know, well,
Is it possible to, when you're skydiving to get into a position where you're like standing up, perpendicular to the ground and going down feet first?
I have never seen that. I've watched people on television and movies and documentaries jumping out of planes, and I've never seen anybody in a standing position while
Well,
they're
you go
falling.
faster if not standing, but I mean it'd be the same as if you dived forward because by
Mm-hmm.
spreading your body out, you actually slow yourself down because you're giving more air mass to your body. So if you went
Yeah,
straight
yeah,
down, you'd actually go faster. So
Mm-hmm.
because you can
Mm-hmm.
change
yeah. A leaf falls slower than an arrow.
Mm-hmm. And about the dressing, how you dress making you feel different. Viridian reminds us that going commando definitely makes you feel different. Like he has different personality, and I get that because, like, yeah,
And
I
Nadia
get that.
just said,
Yeah.
how much farting or burping would you do once you landed after all that forced air from naked?
Claire,
I was also thinking there'd probably be a lot of queefing too if it was.
Oh my gosh.
Claire, I
Yes,
have a
Jenny.
question for you.
For me,
Have you
okay.
have you ever gone commando wearing a skirt or dress?
Absolutely. And I will actually admit that when I had a particularly bad experience with misogynistic clients, I would do it on purpose so I knew and they didn't. and we knew
Oh,
because it
that's
made me feel.
power.
It made me feel like I had power. It was Quim power, baby. It was like I felt cool. I felt in control. I had a three-piece suit on, and I was commando. Yes, and no stockings either. So I'm glad I didn't trip. But yeah, and I did it on purpose, and I did it to take my power back. Because if they're gonna put power on it, damn well I'm gonna use it. Damn well I'm gonna use it to my advantage. You know why not? That's the power they gave me. So there. But yeah, on purpose for certain things, you know, and also just to feel good.
Instinct to them, were you?
Jen,
No, I didn't do that. I had no desire to entice them. It was more like beat them to the ground, you know. And I did. I got, you know, it just made me feel stronger.
To have Aunt Jeb beats you because she went commando under a skirt at Bible college.
Well, there you go. She knows exactly. Yeah, there you go. You're just like, oh, you win, girl. You win commando today. You win it. Yeah, boom. You win best commando.
All right.
That's.
Have you ever gone commando riding a bicycle?
That's no. I have never. No. That is definitely in the no column for have I ever. No.
You got to be careful. You might stick to the seat, Jenny.
I don't even like to ride a bicycle because of that. Like
that or the bike could have sex with you.
Not the good kind. Not the good kind. Sorry.
Many a young girl has cracked the hymen by riding a push bike.
No.
Same as riding a horse. It happens with that too.
Yeah, but I've ridden horses and that didn't have, you know.
It does happen though.
Yeah, I'm sure it does. You know, but I mean, lots of things.
Gymnastics and lots of different things can cause it. So it's a completely invalid way to test for virginity. Like virginity even matters.
Yeah, I hate the I hate the thing that the society puts on for being a virgin. You know, it's something great and wonderful. No. If you go into marriage still being a virgin, if you're the kind of person who's going to get married, then you're going into marriage unprepared, unexperienced, unknowledgeable of the state of things, and you might find out that, hey, maybe this marriage thing wasn't good for me, or maybe you didn't like penis as much as you thought you did.
I don't know. It's a
I mean, fine if that's what you want. If you want to keep yourself pure until the right person.
I think
pure.
it's.
What do you mean pure?
It's situational. It's situational to how you're raised and what expectations and what you actually, you know, want. I mean, there's all kinds. I mean, there are some people that consider themselves virgins now still, and yet they don't have intact hymens, and they have had sex, but they are not having relations anymore, or they've retreated and have become, you know, either asexual until they meet the right person for years and years, you know. So it's a word, and I've never been comfortable with the word or the label because people put so much on it. It's something. They make it like something you have to keep, and then something you have to covet, and like it's something of this great value.
That's what pisses me off about it all. It's like,
well, have you ever heard a woman exalting her sexual prowess because she de-virginized a boy?
No. But here's the thing:
it's only boys and men who
it's a misogynistic thing. It really is. That whole concept
really
of pureness and virginity. It's misogyny.
It brings up the kind of bare-based things that, to me, aren't involved in my daily life as part of the relationships that I want to have. It comes back to just, you know, almost offensive in some ways. And I'm not saying, you know, that, but I have never been with a partner that would exalt that I had no experience, like that they would be like wanting me not to have any experience. You know what I mean? Like, or that it would be so much better. it would be so much better if you didn't know anything and I was the first. Like, I'd never had that said to me. You know what I mean? And I'm sure I was
there are
at one
definitely
time.
people who seek that. Who seek
Everybody
partners
was an
that they can
experience.
break in, as it were.
But that's what I mean.
It's a power trip
everybody was
thing,
experienced
isn't it?
at one point.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Which is
and I would bet you any amount that there are women who, well, and men who have been married and having sex for 20, 30 years who are still inexperienced.
okay. That's just it. And I
They're
think
not
Aunt Jer,
inexperienced, Jenny. They're just shit.
well, that brings up Aunt Jer's question, because she wants us to define virginity. At what point is it considered lost? Mutual masturbation, oral sex, hand jobs, etc. Like, what are we talking about here? The
Well,
experience
number
part, or the intact,
I
the
know
intact hymen, or the?
it's
Exactly,
a meme thing,
exactly.
but there's that meme thing of young teenage girls who go, "Oh, we'll do anal because I'm still a virgin," and like, in what world?
No. No, exactly. That's what I mean. I mean, they use it as a label, and all it does is put pressure and connotation in, and things that where it doesn't belong, as far as mutual, respectful relationships between people. Like, the term, to me,
It is
this
useless.
causes trouble. It does.
Useless. Yeah.
Because, like Viridian says, it's like a double standard, like between having lots of sex or enjoying sex, or how many people you have had sex with. The labels that they put on all of that stuff can be quite offensive, because if you're having, in my world, the actual respect and commitment and consensuality that is necessary for me to engage in these activities, then it doesn't really matter who, like, how often, how many partners that I have had, because those labels don't apply. It didn't matter if I was a virgin or call me a virgin, call me a whore. I don't think I'm either one. I don't. I don't think I ever was either one. You know what I mean? Like,
exciting and gratifying sexual experiences I ever had was with this woman at my house on my couch, and we went at it, necking and everything that is associated with it, any kind of pre-intercourse type of behaviors you can imagine. We did, and we were both completely closed. We both completely orgasmed, and she, at the end of it, she says, and now it's okay with God because I'm still a virgin.
you see, that's the kind of that's yeah.
What?
That's where they put the label on the, they put all this stuff on the word, and they're missing the context, they're missing the purpose, they're missing the whole damn thing. Oh my God.
But the problem for us as women is the virginity is seen as something tangible because of the whole hymen, and we can have evidence of your virginity. Which, as Andrea says, the myth of virginity gets people killed.
It is, and that's I also agree where Verilian says that purity culture is harmful, because it is. It's damaging.
Also, that this woman was by no means inexperienced. There's no way this was her first time. She was very accomplished.
I just read Belinda's comment. That's brilliant.
I know. So funny. I was so with you on that one, Belinda. It's so true.
The anal thing is huge in some communities here. Everyone is still considered a virgin, even though they've bumfucked half the town.
Yep, that's it. And I also agree when she say re-virginalization, it's bullshit. It is. It's like, why don't you rewrite history? Yeah, okay, just rewrite history like it never happened.
Yeah,
you can't do it. It's better to own it and move forward, and just the things that they put value on. Just like the pressures that we feel as women, and I'm not gonna get into that whole thing, man, woman, whatever, but the societal pressures, and that virginity thing is one of them. That you must be virgin-like for as long as you can, to be appealing and attractive and to make way in society. Like
pure,
it's
young,
bullshit.
Virgin. Yeah, feed them to the dragons. It's
like a catch-22, because I'm telling you, like, They might covet that, but they don't want it in the bedroom. I can, in most cases they don't, not unless it's a power trip to conquer it, because that's not a
I think that's
mutual.
exactly what
Yeah.
it is, isn't it? It's I'm the one who took possession of that, so I have the power over you because I took that from you. I took your purities, so I'm the one who.
I
And I
refuse
think
to.
there's a lot of people who think like that.
Mhm.
There's
In
even
my
some
warp,
women who think like that, which is
yeah,
disturbing.
in my warp world, the way I think, I don't even consider that sex. That is like something totally different to me. That is not the way I interpret sex. I don't, because it's not equal. It's not I don't. That's not how I look at it. It's
Yeah,
something
I mean,
else.
if it's between two consenting adults, yeah. So what? When we're
Hmm.
not when we're not here to
I just mean
turn
like
people.
how I define like my relationships. Like to me, that's a
Yeah.
power play. That's manipulation. That's like there's a whole bunch of other stuff going on there besides sex. To me, that's authoritarian abuse.
Yeah,
That's
I would
like
tend to agree.
like there's a whole bunch of stuff going on
Hold
there.
on, hold on. I stepped away for a minute. What are you talking about here?
The aspect of people who see taking somebody's virginity or purity as a power play, that's where they
Hmm.
get they get their
Okay.
Like
kicks
a
from the fact that
like a
they've had that they took that
like.
from someone.
Yeah,
Mhm.
okay.
And I
When
mean, people like that in my mind, if your whole power play is I want to go and find myself a virgin and I want to take that from them and I want to have that. That's you're stepping the fine line between sexual abuse and having
but
sex.
Well, yeah, that's what I mean. It's like something totally different to me. Like,
Yeah.
and I'm not talking about like two, young people in love, and giving themselves to each other, or your first and falling in love and giving your first. That's not what I'm talking about at all. I'm talking about that manipulation thing that goes on with a person who's doing it multiple times. There are men out there that like that. That's what they just do constantly. And it's not everybody.
There are
Thankfully,
some women who are
it's.
cougars who do the same
Mm-hmm.
search for young men who are inexperienced to have that power, and it is a power play thing
Right.
at that point.
Yeah.
There's a difference between wanting to be with somebody who's younger and wanting to have control over someone who's younger, and
You know.
this is a form of control to a certain extent.
Mm-hmm. And that's why that's why I made that statement. Like in my warped little world, that's not even like sex. Like it's not. I
Yeah,
know it's the
I
act of sex.
agree,
Like I get
Vivian.
that, but to
Having
me, it's not what
having sex just
I
to take
see as the
someone's
whole thing.
virginity is basically abuse. That's what
Yeah.
I meant by that. Stepping that fine
Yeah.
line. You're at that level
Hmm.
of abuse.
Hmm.
But there are people who see no problem with that. That's perfectly fine. It's their next conquest, as it were, and they don't
I'm
see
glad I
it as
don't.
being abusive because the person agreed to have this sex. Yeah, but your reason for having sex had nothing to do with any mutual respect at all. You had no respect for this person. All you wanted was a conquest.
Bingo.
Okay,
That's my key word there.
if we take the societal but primarily male definition of virginity, are two obligatory, or I shouldn't say obligatory, are two lesbians who have never swayed, are they virgins?
Yeah, to some of these guys, they would be. And that comes down to that power play of some people who think they can cure your lesbianness. You just haven't been with the right man yet. I mean, fucking hell. How arrogant is that statement?
Yeah, like how often does that get you? I heard being with the right man, that's a cure for just about everything, isn't it?
Yeah.
I mean, that's how they say it, right? But I don't know.
Well, if you get together with the right man, you'll become a lesbian.
Yeah. It's not how that works. In either direction, that's not how that works. But
it's not. And I have to say, I love men. I have very good, mutual, respectful relationships with them. So I'm good. Like I'm good.
Yeah.
But I just I just laugh at, some of the situations you get in where people are just trying to tell you, well, that would never happen because you just need to find a good man and he did this. And I'm like, okay. You know, like even like my nan or my mom, that would be the answer to everything
I'd have to
sometimes,
laugh at both sides
When
of that because you
yeah.
couldn't turn me straight and you couldn't make me a lesbian because because I'm bi and pan. I like both. So how the hell do you
How do you know, right? It's just like
how do you turn me one way or the other? Well, no, I like both. So yeah.
Yeah, I don't know. That's it's like Vivian said. Usually, the person who's saying that you haven't been with the right one yet, they're usually not the one.
Oh, they're
Like if they're
definitely
saying
not
that,
the
to you,
one.
they're not the one. Yeah, I get it, really. That's exactly what I think. If they say something like that, I'm like, yep, and you're not it. Like checked off, for sure. But
Yeah.
but
No, Jer's right there too. Wanting to take someone's virginity creates an imbalance of power and a level of coercion that makes it non-consensual.
mm-hmm.
Yeah. Yeah, I think we've just bashed on purity culture.
Sorry, Puritan.
Yeah,
It was not on the agenda. It wasn't on the agenda. We didn't tick the
We
box
didn't
off,
have an
but
agenda, to be honest.
Claire, another question for you.
shit happens. Okay, I'm ready, Jenny. Go ahead.
Jenny.
Is a transgender person who goes through their bottom surgery now a virgin or not?
Oh, well, that's very clinical for me, and I will not claim any expertise in this department at all.
I'm not
But
looking for
when you
expertise.
right, if you go through your bottom surgery as a transgender, is that not your new package? Like, am I understanding it correct that you just received
That's
your
a
new
new
package?
appliance. That's like a new what?
This is your brand new shiny equipment,
Yeah,
then
that's
yes,
right.
you're a virgin. You have never taken it out. You have never built it. You haven't done anything with it yet. In my eyes, you qualify for virginity. There you go.
Think of it as you converted from a shower to a bathtub.
That's
Well,
right.
to be fair though, there are
And
people.
I wasn't comfortable putting it that way, but you can.
There are
I mean, but
people.
yeah.
There are people who will. There are chasers who will pursue trans women who they know have surgery, so they can be the first people to get with those people, and that is the same dynamic as chasing a virgin. In that sense,
All right.
you want to be the first. You want to be there first. There's something about being there first for those people. And
Viridian makes a good point. Read that last one there. That is it in a nutshell for me. That bingo, Virillion.
What is it?
He said, for me, virginity is psychological more than physical, and that's the truth, right there. Although it can be taken away against your will, I understand that. Still, psychologically, it was removed, but it is a psychological situation there for sure. Yep, I get it. Yep. Because people are born with busted hymens, People are born with no hymen.
Yep.
People are born with such a thick hymen, it never gets really, they has to be surgically busted.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. So, like, the physical aspect of it is not the same for everybody. And there's always going to be, like, fringes. And now, our society now with people, their anatomy changing, because like you asked me about the bottom, the other surgery too. Is that of it? Yes, it is. It's brand new. Yeah.
I had one chaser ask me if when I had bottom surgery if they installed a hymen too, and I just said I won't answer that.
Wow, really?
Oh yeah.
Why do people feel?
But I wasn't going to answer him just because.
No. But this is a common thing for trans people. If you're a cis person, you have people come up and ask you all the time about, hey, what are your genitals like? How if you're a guy and you're constantly have people coming up to you and asking you, how long's your dick? How big are your nuts? Or if you're a woman and you go, hey, how good's your clit? Or what are your lips like? Down there. They're constantly asking you. You would be offended, and yet it's perfect.
No, I don't get that.
I know you don't, but this seems to be perfectly fine for some people to think that if they're talking to a trans person,
they do it
they have the right to know.
Yeah, but they don't. They don't have the right to this information. I mean, I get it, but only because I'm a redhead, because I'm the subject of jokes for stuff like that.
Yeah.
They want to know if stuff like.
Well, anyone who's ever been part of a minority for some reason tends to get it, and it's the same thing. It's that, and I won't even say it's white cis cishet people. It's people who
Well,
whoever are on the bigger curve of being the majority, who don't have to deal with the crap that the rest of us deal with on a
that's kind
daily
of the same.
basis. Don't get it. They never get it.
That's kind of the same energy that I hear from stories from a number of black women who say that how often white women come up to them and just say, can I touch your hair? I want to touch your hair.
Or stuff like that. Yeah.
What? Has anybody asked anybody that you know that who's not black?
Yeah.
I
But,
can't ever think of.
curiosity and differences doesn't negate like manners. Like I'm noticing that like everywhere, just in society in general, like especially out here on YouTube, people feel so entitled to know things, and like that it's incredible. It's incredible what people feel they are entitled to know about another person that they're not willingly sharing. Like it's just, to me, it's offensive and rude in most cases. Like I don't understand it. But I think it has a lot to do with how the media and how everything we see nowadays is delving into the bare bones and private matters of just about everything and everyone. It's what we see on TV, what we hear on the radio, what we see on YouTube, we see in book, everything. It's just getting to where there's like a limit. There's no limits. There's no privacy,
Well, the only penis question I have that has plagued me for years is, does Santa Claus have an icicle?
I like your attitude, Verilian. For me, not asking is so much more fun than getting to know. So much more fun when getting to know the partner physically. If the genitals are different, oh boy, I'm going to town down there no matter what. Now that's the attitude people should have. If you get into a situation and you get into and you're liking this person and you want to be with them and you suddenly get naked and you go, maybe the person with the problem is you and not the person that you just got with.
Exactly. Because by the time I'm naked, like my brain's already there. It's there. Like
so if something pushes you off from that, then the problem is you, not the person.
And my gyno-urologist, just sent me an article that told me that every orgasm I've ever had is from my brain. She told me, don't worry. And I read the article, and she's right. That the biggest sex organ, what's the biggest sex organ we have on our body? I know you know, James, for sure. It is our brain, but then there's a close second that is actually a physical thing.
Okay.
Our skin. You can have an orgasm touching someone's ear if you do it right. I mean, if you do it long enough, you do it with mental stimulation.
Jen, hold on.
Brain connection. Yep, go ahead.
Hold on. Let someone else in here. Jen, I think it's also fair when we're talking about all those chasers and people asking about our bottoms and stuff like that. The media, if you look at porn on the internet, transsexual or transgender porn, Pornhub or whatever, it's always a preoperative transgender woman. Okay, are the only people who are ever in any of those.
That's not true. You can find post-op videos as well.
I have not seen one.
Yeah,
okay?
No, they definitely.
I just have not seen one.
They definitely inject.
And they're certainly not in any proportion that even close to rivals. No. Okay, so for a lot of people, the only image they have of a transgender woman is someone with a penis. Okay, which of course is absolutely incorrect. The vast majority of transgender women I know either have had surgery or cannot wait to get it. So it's such a awful thing to hang over our heads. It really pisses me off a lot.
One of the things that doesn't help that image though is the way our activism works, and it's changing, but it's not changing. It's slow to change. And generally speaking, the people who have been the activists are the people who are pre-surgery, who are in transition, who are being out there because they're wanting to protect their rights for the future. And later on, as they progress down transition and then eventually get to surgery, they go, hey, I can go stealth. I can get away from all this bullshit. And they have, because that's been the best way to protect yourself. And it's also been encouraged by the infrastructure that's been there. Well, so in a lot of sense, the people like you and me who disappeared from the community to a large extent.
Yeah, well, I was raised under the expectation that I would be stealth.
Yeah, the same. So, but yeah, it's one of those sad things that the elders of us in the community, and I feel weird talking about myself as that, but the elders of us in the community tend to disappear. And by elders, I mean people who transitioned a long time ago, not people who transitioned older, but people who transitioned a long time ago. Those elders tend to disappear. And not because they've died or anything like that, because they just blended in, which is perfectly fine, because that ideally should be what happens for everybody. It shouldn't make any difference. But whilst there is still inequality there between the rights for trans people and the rights for cisgendered people, you can't have that. You've got to be vocal. You've got to be out there. You've got to stand up for the rights of other people, because there is an inequality there, regardless of what certain people think.
Well, that's exactly why I came out of stealth, is when I realized how absolutely horrible it was today. I couldn't stand by and
because
let my
you like me would have been in the situation where daily we weren't experiencing all that negativity that we see for other people, because we blended in. We did what we needed, and so we weren't experiencing that all the time. But I can remember experiencing it all the time, and I certainly get my fair share of it online now. But not in real life.
Yeah, they're trying to make up for it.
But not in real life, though. My real life is it virtually never comes up, although it does more often now, because people ask me questions in real life because they've seen videos that I've made or something like that. The people who know that I do YouTube, who I know in real life, and they'll ask me questions about things that have happened. So I actually talk about it more in real life now than I have done for like 20 years. But it's one of those things. I mean, even about intersex issues, I didn't talk about it. I just did not talk about it, whereas I do now. And it's one of those things where look, it didn't matter. I was fine, and I wasn't thinking about other people, and I became very aware of the fact that that's the wrong attitude, and you need to be there because it's not balanced, it's not fair, and
Well, and your experience can help others, and you can just being with others that need an ear, or just to tell their story, or to share similar situations, so that people don't feel alone. Yeah, I get that. I also understand how weird it's getting out on the internet lately. It used to be where in my private life, my experience was my private life was chaotic and my internet life was calm, cool, collected. And now it's the opposite. Like my real life, perfectly fine, no drama, nothing like that. And yet the internet part is like wherever you go, there is somebody just trying to cause trouble. like some nasty remark to somebody I know or care about, or some thread that just is absolutely ridiculous on their take on something. It's like contrarianism everywhere I go in social media lately.
So brilliant. I think you've got the horse and cart around the wrong way there. It's not so much that trans people get into porn to pay for their surgeries. I mean, that's definitely part of it, but it's more a case that a lot of trans people end up in porn because that is the only industry they can get into. Because if you're a trans person, especially pre-op trans person, in a lot of states, especially in the US, where you can't, and other places where you can't change birth certificates, where you can't get new ID easily, where when you go for a job interview, are going to have to out yourself to a boss, you are likely not going to get a job just on the grounds that you're trans, because there is that much discrimination against trans people in that environment. So a lot of trans people end up in porn industry or OnlyFans or whatever else, because having a career that's partly sexually based, because there's enough people who are interested in that they can make a career off it, especially if you're cute and young. is a good way for them to make the amounts of money that they need to make, especially where there isn't the healthcare cover that will cover a lot of these things, because it gets really expensive. Not as expensive as gender criticals would make people think, but it does get really expensive, especially when it comes down to surgeries. But I mean, that's the same for anyone who's having surgery. What I object to is that most places still refer to any surgeries for trans people as being elective, and I think that is ridiculous, because
Yes,
it's corrective surgery, it's not elective.
it's rehabilitative.
It is. So it shouldn't be considered as being elective surgery.
I also can't stand insurance companies who are still to this day, after almost 100 years,
Yeah.
calling it experimental.
Oh.
Yes, there was a time when it was experimental.
Oh,
That's
wow, it is nearly
for a
100 years since
long
Christine
time now.
Georgeson's... No, because you got to go back earlier than that. When was the date? Yeah, so...
No, the I'm speaking of the cases in Germany, or
yeah, because the first cases
the
were
the Danish girl
Phil,
the
yeah.
movie's based on was, I think, late 20s, early 30s.
Late 1920s, early 1930s. So,
Yeah,
so
yeah.
90 years of trans surgery, and it's still experimental. Only as experimental as any other surgery that's been going on for that long is, in that the surgery does change over time because better techniques come out. Not because it's experimental.
Well, all surgeries change over time.
Yeah, well,
How they
in
do
that sense, all the
a
surgery
cardiac
is
stent
experimental.
today is way different than what they did 50 years ago.
Yeah.
So it's
So in the
that's
sense
just the
that
nature of the
they're
biz.
calling it experimental, every surgical technique is experimental. And it's one of those things. That comes down to insurance companies not wanting to cover it. But even here, there is only certain aspects of what's covered under Medicare. The rest you have to pay for out of pocket. And whilst it's not as expensive as if you were in the US, it's still horrendously expensive. Even if you go to somewhere like Thailand to have surgery or something like that, you're not coming back without spending 40 grand.
I would like to see, and I can only speak for the procedures for my side of the community for trans women. I would like to see whatever bottom surgery they need, breast implants, FFS, which is facial feminization surgery, all covered, all of them covered under insurance or Medicare and Medicaid.
Yeah.
There's just none of it that is optional. There's just not.
Not only that, for those who want it, all speech therapy should be covered, all counseling, and all drugs.
Yeah.
That would be good.
And if you, well, no, I'm not gonna. Oh shit, might as well. And if you don't believe me, ask my shrink.
Yeah.
That it's not optional. Okay.
No, it's not.
She can tell you about how many times I've been on the edge of killing myself over it.
See, this is... I know, and Jenny knows this. I know someone who has detransitioned. And that person detransitioned because when they came out as trans, and I knew them personally, they said, "Oh no, I'm just going to go and I'm going to go and find a doctor, and I'm going to sign a disclaimer, so I don't have to have any therapy, and I'm just going to do this." And my comment to them was, "You're a fucking idiot. You go and get that therapy and make sure there isn't anything else underlying conditions that are exacerbating how you're feeling or anything else going on." And they went on hormones for a year and a half, and then eventually they got all suicidal and absolutely nut jobby. They tried to kill themselves by driving into a power pole. They were so suicidal. They got section, they got therapy, and they realized that their underlying problem was they were just trying to escape who they were because they didn't like themselves, and they weren't trans at all, and they shouldn't have been trying to transition in the first place, which was the warning I tried to give them at the front. If you have an underlying condition, there are other reasons. There are occasional other reasons why people will try to transition that means that they're not trans and they need help, which is why all trans people need therapy, because you may not actually be as trans as you think you are, and that is real. It's very rare, but it does happen, and it's why therapy I think is a requirement, but shouldn't be a gate. There shouldn't be it shouldn't be a form of gatekeeping, but it should be required so that people don't.
Well, if it's required, it's a gate.
Well,
if it's
no,
required,
you can require people to have therapy without, but not have it stop you having hormones or whatever else at the start.
Oh, I see. But then what's the point of it?
Because the point of it is if it gives the person a chance to get to know themselves, and if they can find themselves out, and if they find themselves out, then they might stop the process they're going down. So yes.
Okay, so you're talking about therapy with the goal of self-discovery.
Therapy with the goal of self-discovery.
If this is indeed the direction you need or want or need to go.
Yeah. Yes. Therapy for that purpose, not the therapy of gatekeeping.
I think it's critically important, especially when we're talking about kids, for
Hi, Jeannie.
consumer public to understand that this is the whole purpose of the therapy pre-transition, is to help people discover that it is not right for them,
which is why I think
it's right for them.
Having therapy for any trans
ridiculous
person
for them to keep talking about adolescents as unable to make their own decisions, because they don't make their own decisions. They go through a process with the support of professionals and a family that helps them make their mind clear and to understand what they're doing and if that is indeed them. And then nobody is going to treat them if they don't. It just doesn't happen.
No, I thoroughly agree, Jenny. This is why I'm not a big proponent of that sign a waiver against the doctor and the doctor's just going to give you your hormones and sign off on everything. I don't like that approach. I think there should be. I think everybody who goes through, as Verilian has said, any major changes in life most certainly require psychological help. But psychological
I agree.
therapy, and we've bred a culture that's terrified of therapy, to a large extent, especially in Australia. I don't know how bad it is in the US, but in Australia, people are terrified of going and seeing a therapist. It's like, oh, I'm weak because I saw a therapist. No, you're actually strong because you went and saw a therapist, because you went and got help. The fact that you were prepared to ask for help rather than sitting in the corner weeping your eyes out every night was the right decision, but a tough decision. That is what you needed to do.
Right. I'm a big supporter of therapy. Everyone can benefit from some way with everything that goes on in their lives. I mean, life just gets tougher and tougher the way it's been, especially now coming through with everything that's going on in all of our countries. With the virus and the pandemic and the stresses and the distance of family and feeling more separate, and then trying to connect in different ways with people. And, there's a lot of stress out there. Everybody needs somebody to talk to at one time. I'm a big supporter of that.
I agree. And sometimes it can't be friends and family. It needs to be...
Right. It has to be a stranger. Yeah. Sometimes somebody you don't know as well. Yeah. Or a professional. Definitely for the big things. I've availed myself several times. Major illnesses, life changes, things that happen. We're just... Yeah,
I've been...
It's always good.
I've been to therapists numerous times in my life, and not just for trans issues, because of other things. And I was dealing with a relationship breakup. When I split with my first husband, it was like, I needed therapy for that because I was an abuse victim inside that relationship. So I needed the therapy, and I realized that, and I went and got it. So it shouldn't be something we're ever afraid of.
No, the stigma needs to be taken away so much, because the best thing you can do for self-care for yourself is to admit none of us know everything. It's impossible. And the second thing is that everyone needs help sometimes. No one can do it alone all the time. Everybody needs help in some way, sometime. And the best thing you can do for yourself is to admit it and, reach out for it when you need it in whatever capacity, but sometimes that's professional. I prefer professional because it can't come back to me. There's confidentiality there, man. I know it ain't going to hit the streets. Okay. You talk to you talk to your friend this year, and 10 years later, they're not your friend, and you're a 5-star article going around the world. What do these things happen.
I have to say, if anybody who ever watches this, if you're in Australia, there's a organisation called Beyond Blue that you can contact. They offer online phone support for people who are depressed, suicidal, who need help with it. Who, for whatever reasons, you don't have to be suicidal, but if you're depressed and stuff like that, and they'll help put you in contact with the right people. In the US, there's quite a few organizations.
There's an 800 number. I don't have it right at my fingertips, but I have used it before. It's in my notes. Yeah, it is a texting service that within minutes you can get somebody to text you back to hook you up with a free organization in your area or somebody to talk to like right away about all of this kind of stuff.
There's also the Trevor Project in the US that offers support for LGBT people, and they are amazing. In the UK, I'm not as au fait with what
there is Samras. Yeah, Samras has an 800 like a 800 number, but it's a different number in the UK. They have a number like that too, where somebody can get in.
Teenager contact mermaids, but I hope there's no teenagers watching this stream.
We're naked.
We're naked. Yeah, and this is adult.
It's not marked that way. Yeah. Thank you. Aunt Jer says she has a pinned tweet with the international numbers. Thank you. I've seen that. Like last year, I had one also. It's good with the UK number, Australia, the United States has the 800 numbers. Men's line.
Men's line.
Yeah.
And who need help.
Thank you.
There are so many organizations out there. Never feel alone, and don't be afraid to ask for help.
There is also in the States a group that called the Trans Lifeline, which specifically deals with transgender people. It's run by transgender people. Transgender people are your counselors on it. So if you feel like it's something that you need that sort of specialized thought line for, do get a hold of them. I don't have the number off the top of my head, but it's easily found. Trans Lifeline. It's an 800 number, of course. They try to be 24 hours, but honestly, they don't have the staff to accomplish that. But they'll try to get a live person to as quickly as they can.
Well, thank you, Ted and Andrew. They're putting the numbers in there. That's so supportive. That's like, you guys are like the best. Excellent. The best crew.
Thank you, guys.
They are. I was like, that warms my heart, people like that. Boy, we talked about everything.
We have, and I think we've ended on a really nice point that don't be afraid of therapy. Go and ask for help if you need help. And
Well, one thing we haven't covered yet that I really think is critical that we take the time over for.
Yeah, let's go for it, Jenny.
That would be in a public restroom, paper towels or blow dryers.
Yeah, let's end on the paper towels.
Depending on the situation, I'm all for the blow dryer. But I don't know.
Paper towels, because as long as they're being replaced all the time, that's my biggest bugbear. There's a lot of public toilets that replace them, and then you end up you've washed your hands and you've got nowhere to dry.
I have great respect for the ones that are still giving me both options, because I still want both options occasionally. Like if I'm just doing a hand wash, I'm going to use the air dryer.
Yeah.
But I would like them to I would like to see them mount them a little bit lower on the wall so that you can blow them down your pants if you want them easier.
You know what? I've seen them wear that little that hose thing, that little scout.
I'm a little bit wet down there. I need to dry myself.
I was like, hey, who hasn't used it to like dry the cleavage off a little bit on the hot summer day? Come on. But
hygienically speaking, paper towel is more hygienic than
Yeah, they've actually shown bacteria tests on the hand dryers, because people say, "Oh no, these are sterile and aseptic, best thing to do," and They're just thick with bacteria.
Mhm.
Yeah.
So,
Well,
There's-
they're in a bathroom. I mean, if you ever seen
well, yeah.
those studies that they show where they put the special lights on and then they flush a toilet, and you see that even though it's going down, what is going in the air, like all over the vicinity, for as far as the bacteria and this that. Yeah.
Yeah,
So
but
like,
definitely
no,
go
you
with
can't be
taste.
sterile. It would be insane to think that
All right.
any surface is sterile.
Since we're on that topic, in a public outhouse, a porta potty, why
Mhm.
do men find it necessary to piss on the seat and then not wipe it off?
Like, it's not like they didn't see it, right? Like, I don't know. That's just I don't know what that
There
is.
are women out there who don't make sure that they.
There are women that are just.
They stand up.
There are women that do it too. Like, I mean, they're just people in general who leave messy seats. Like, that should be the question. Why messy seats, people? Like,
It
why?
takes 5
can generally
seconds to
tell if
turn
it was a
around
woman
after
because
you
there'll be a
get up
couple
off the
dribbles in
toilet
the
and have a
front.
look.
I'm
as
talking
you-
about the toilet seats where you find it pissed on all the way to the back. No woman did that.
Oh no, I agree with you there. But even I mean, anyone who does it, how long does it take you to have a quick look at the seat? And go, yeah, maybe I better grab some toilet paper and give that a
Yeah,
fucking
exactly.
wipe.
It's just rude.
Really,
All right,
we
I'm
were
done.
not talking about that. Blowjobs in toilets, yay or nay?
No. Sometimes there's not enough stalls, and you really got to get in there, and they're not finished yet. And get out, go find a, go get a room.
Oh, it's just disrespectful that they do that stuff. Yeah, I don't know. It's just crazy. They're just.
Bye, Belinda.
Yeah, but for real, yeah, what kind of a question is that?
Yeah.
It's a yay or nay. I don't know. I guess it depends.
To a random person through a hole in the wall? No. Never.
No. Mm-hmm.
If you're stupid enough to stick your dick through a blind hole in a wall, you deserve what you get.
I'm kind of with Virillion because I'm not into the chance encounter kind of thing. So if it's somebody that I know, I think I can wait to get a more appropriate place than a dirty bathroom stall. Yeah,
I mean,
like I want to be comfortable.
I'm a nay as
bending
well.
over and
But
say, "Go ahead, insert whatever."
Yeah, I mean, because that's just not where I'm at these days with that just casual acquaintance kind of thing.
it always
But-
reminds me of that scene in Porky's. With the boys installed the
There's something I don't know why, but I never thought I would hear that statement out of you.
Out of me.
Something I saw in Porky's. Like, just that movie.
That scene.
That-
I have seen the movie.
That movie. I know, but that movie and you just, in my mind, they just never.
thought I would have said
That just
Oh,
no, it just struck me.
I have never
No, when
seen
I
struck
was,
me
when I was
funny.
a teenager, we used
I
to
have
watch
never
all
seen
those
this, so you have to
those
describe it.
movies.
Jen, I have never seen this, so you have to describe it.
Okay, the guys at this college, got somebody to install a set of peepholes in the women's change room so that it's that kind of teen nudity angst movie, and they're looking through it, and one of the girls notices that these things are there, and so they're looking out through it. So one of the guys first up shoves his tongue through, and the girl comes out with soap and rubs soap all over his tongue. So after that, one of the other guys whips his dick out and throws his dick through it. At that point, the trainer, the phys ed teacher for the girls walks in, and she sees this, and she goes, "Get out of here!" to the other girls. Walks up, grabs hold of this guy's dick, and pulls it as hard as she fucking can. And he's stuck against the wall, and she's got hold of his dick, and he's yelling. And she goes, "I'm gonna find out who the fuck you are!" And his two other mates piss off.
Mm-hmm.
It is hilarious. It starts out as
That's
this
funny.
stupid dumbass voyeuristic thing, and ends up with the guy getting his comeuppance.
That's funny.
But yes, it's an old movie, but it's yeah.
It's funny. It's definitely teenage. It was like a good teenage movie. It was like definitely teenage humor. It was good.
It's a
Craziness.
similar vintage to Revenge of the Nerds and
Yeah.
And what else?
Oh, that's why I never saw it. I
Animal
was too
House.
old.
Animal House.
Animal House for sure. Yeah.
Yeah,
Like
those
yeah.
kind of movies. And yes, I did watch them, Claire. I used to have a good laugh.
No, I knew it just like Porky's. I'm just like they just didn't go together. Jen and Porky's just didn't go together. I'm sorry.
I'm not.
Yep.
You and I are of the same vintage, Claire. Why?
I know we do. You know, yeah, I don't know. I don't know. It just struck me funny. I don't know.
Yeah.
I'm guilty. It's like, oh gosh. Oh, but I do recall seeing that movie on that whole genre, like around the same time they all came out. Then
Yeah, all those
and Band
movies
Camp,
came out. Yeah.
you know, American Pie.
Well, that
and
was
all,
American
like,
Pie was 90s though, so it was a little bit later. But it was
Yeah.
the same sort of movie. There was a whole
Yeah, the
period
same
of
kind of movie.
about a decade we got all these weirdos. And Porky's was probably Porky's was the one that along with Animal House were the two that really deserved their R ratings, to be honest.
Yeah,
I
they
mean,
did.
parts of Porky's were close to soft porn, to be fair.
Yeah.
My favorite scene,
Now that you mention it.
from an Animal House is still when, and this is just disgusting, when John Belushi stands up and says, "I'm a zit," and then punches his cheeks with mashed potatoes in there.
Oh yeah, he does, and it's all over the place.
Forgot about that.
It was pretty gross. But he was funniest when he was gross, wasn't he?
Yeah, he was. He was.
The way these topics go. that all came up just because somebody asked about oral sex in toilets.
Yeah. Thank you for that, Virillion.
Thanks,
Yeah.
Brilliant. Okay.
It is.
Yeah, go Claire.
No, I was going to say with the chat, like it's like having more guests on because they're so active with their questions and interaction. I was really enjoying it tonight. You brought up some really valid points.
So
and
let's
some
talk
very
about
good things.
next week, because next week, Claire and I still have to organise the times a bit, but next week we will be doing back to back. So my show followed with a small break in between the two by midnight. Mayhem. So we'll be doing the two shows on Friday night for those of you in the US, leading into Saturday morning, and they'll be running back to back. And Claire and I will probably have a bit of a talk with each other so that we can maybe make sure that Tits Out leads well into what we'll be discussing in the further show. But
Wouldn't that be fun?
Yeah. So we don't cross each other's things.
Interesting?
So
Although
it's
why
going
don't
to be a
you-
bit of fun.
Why don't you prepare the chat now and say, "Chat, come on up with some really good ideas for topics
Oh, Claire's
that
got
take us out to the edge."
Yeah, listen, they're not shy. They send stuff. Like I've been putting things, in the DM and on the comments on the videos and stuff. So it's really good.
It is.
But as far as for Mayhem, I am going to move it to Friday night. I know some people are going to be like, that's going to be a little upsetting for them. I hope that the ones who watch will understand. It's just going to be better going into the weekend, especially for some of the panel.
Yeah.
To free things up, and then it's still going to be called Midnight Madness and Mayhem, but we're going to start earlier, like 11, and then we're going to go past midnight, like we do.
We include
like
the fact that we're going to start with our tits out. We're actually starting.
Well, we're always going to, yeah.
So
But the format's not going to change. We're going to be naked. We're definitely there's still a naked bear squad. Everybody there is going to be naked or behind clothing optional, humor mandatory. Same rules, same rules.
Which is pretty much the same here. I mean,
yeah. So I just plan on being naked. It's just I'm gonna have less time to prepare because I'm already prepared over here.
we
actually,
just call it Naked Fridays. Overall, we'll just call it.
There you
Naked
go.
Fridays.
We're just like, you know what? Let's start showing up at six pack naked too, Jen. Yeah, it'll really blow their minds.
You're an avatar. I have to do this.
I know.
So many businesses do Casual Friday. Why don't you call it Extremely Casual Friday?
There you go, Jen. That's good. That's
Thank
good.
you, Jen. Yes.
Extremely casual Fridays.
So
Yeah, I'm gonna say. There you go. No.
Basically Friday night trouble with us all. Yep, that's exactly. we're going to The irreverence will be high. We will be having a lot of fun. Humor is mandatory. Clothing optional. And we will be having a shit ton of fun is basically what it comes down to. And yeah, we will be definitely enjoying ourselves. As always on this channel, you're free to show up with video or avatar. For Mayhem, it will still be avatars only. And
that's a channel thing. That's from the day I started my channel. Yeah, it's just
yeah, it's not a requirement if you come on camera that you have to be naked, but it's a bonus if you
I
are.
think naked.
Naked,
we appreciate it if you are.
It's appreciated if you are, and we've had quite a few people who've done it.
Your
Jenny's
avatar
done
has
it.
very nice titties. So.
Oh, thank you. We have to thank the avatar augmenter who created those titties. That would be one of my panel guests. One of my Naked Bear Squad, Peter, created those tits from his imagination, I guess. But
so
yeah,
expect a lot of crossover with people between Mayhem and Tits Out, because it'll be a lot of the same people, but it should be a lot of fun, and it should give you something really interesting to do on Friday night. So,
well, tell him you can do an avatar
looking forward to it.
anytime he wants.
Sorry, what was that, Jamie?
tell him what.
Tell him you can do a naked avatar for me anytime he wants.
He was like, I sent him my naked avatar. Like, someone else took the clothes off of my avatar for me, but it was a bit flat chested. Like, it didn't have nipples or anything. It was like, looked kind of weird.
It looked weird.
Yeah, so I told him he does good tits. Those look good. Yeah. They're still not up to the GGs though. Everybody's complaining, but I don't think we can get them any bigger in paint. They're gonna look like.
If you do them bigger in paint, they're gonna. Yeah, you're not really going to be able to see them in the avatar, are you? I mean, I kind of did the same thing. I mean,
that was kind of.
I'm a bit bigger than that, so yeah.
Yeah, that was kind of like going back and forth about whether to put my boobs on the screen because I won't put my face, but it's just nothing but a cleavage line because they can't fit in the square, in the little circle there. You can't get them in. That's it. So just active imagination. It's probably better I couldn't find the picture.
They could fit in the circle, then it would only be a nipple. You know?
Yeah, or something like that, like just a piece of skin.
That's awesome. I'm gonna have to get a avatar that's just a nipple, just for appearing on certain streams.
You saw one YouTube. YouTube's gonna come get you, girl. They're just like you're just aiming that nip at YouTube. I know you are. It's just like, oh my god. They already want your pasties, like, right?
Jeannie,
you know.
Jeannie has a naked avatar. Jeannie, you know you're always more than welcome to join us here. So yeah, girl, bring out the naked avatar.
Who, me?
Jeannie. Jeannie just said in chat that she's got a naked avatar.
Yeah, well, it's always.
Junie, can you make my avatar naked?
Oh, yeah.
Everyone should have one in their back pocket, I think, for special occasions.
Well, Junie drew my avatar, and so she knows, and she's met me in person, so she knows that I'm not flat chested.
Hey, Jeannie's just said I'll be glad to make some for you all if I get a chance.
Oh,
thanks, Jeannie.
That's very sweet. Yeah,
just keep me legal.
Oh, Josh says he's sweet and innocent, which I do not believe. I'm sorry you're putting that out in public. I'm going to call you out right here. I don't believe that.
I don't believe it either.
But I do believe you do not yet have a naked avatar, because I know you've just been building up your avatars. So I would have believed you don't have a naked one, but you're not sweet and innocent. Vivian says, I don't have one, but there's probably some of me out there somewhere.
I'm going to start winding up because we would normally have wound up by next week. We'll have wound up by now, and we'd be getting ready to start the new Mayhem time.
Yeah, and then I wanted to. Tomorrow we're going to be starting at 11 instead of midnight. Just for everybody in the chat, I'll be putting it on community.
Day for me then.
Yeah, probably. Hopefully, you could still be there.
I will. Oh,
yeah.
I probably will.
Naked pictures count as avatars. As long as it's not open camera, it's accepted on my channel. Like, you can come as a naked picture if you want. You don't need an avatar. You just can't use open camera like live stream. That's all. But so if there's pictures are floating around of you, you could use one of them. come on up.
What's that floating? They're lighter because I got no clothes on. Back to
This is why I use an M. Yeah.
Yeah. All right. Well, I want to thank you, Claire and Jenny, for joining me because this has been a lot of fun. I know we've been a bit low on the viewers today, but that's fine. They'll catch up later.
Yeah.
Watching and stuff.
Well, I noticed there was a lot of streams that went live at the same time that you did.
This will happen anyway, but when people get used to us doing this set out on Friday, I think they'll get used to it and we'll get things back into strength.
We're better than the shills anyways.
Pardon?
Oh, just personal opinion. Yeah, just our personal preference. Yeah.
Yeah, we're better than everyone else.
I could tell you, we all have better tits. That's for sure.
Yeah,
yeah, I said that. Okay, go ahead. You're sorry.
Thank you to everyone in the chat. We look forward to seeing you again next weekend. I know Claire's got a lot of stuff coming out this week. You'll also be able to catch us back next Friday. And have you got anything else coming up, Jenny, that you're on? Nope. I will probably be doing a science stream at some point during the week. I had planned on doing one this last week, but I wasn't feeling up to it. So I will be doing something this week, with or without Matt. It depends on how busy Matt is with his work, but expect something. And yeah, other than that, keep an eye out for all of the stuff we do. Follow all three of us on Twitter because that's where we all post what we're doing. And thank you everyone for joining us. And don't forget to catch Claire on Monday with her new stream.
Oh, when the updates on criminal cases and legal drama. Yes, I usually put everything on my community tab, but I'm also doing. I'll be at Hereticals twice this week because I have Wednesday morning with Jay. We're doing next team. We're still doing that cult. So I'll see everybody around there.
Yep. So
there's always Am I the Asshole too, but that's all different days of the week. But we'll see. Yeah,
like I said, follow us all on Twitter, and then you know what's happening.
We'll keep you up.
We'll keep you up to date. All right. Thank you, everyone, for joining us, and we will catch you on the next one. Bye.
Bye.